Hello and welcome to the Monroe Method Clancast. I am Jason Monroe. This is episode 146. I had a little brainwave yesterday, over the last couple of days, and it's got me thinking about something in a new light. I know I've been talking about it a lot. I don't think this episode's going to be about medications. I'm just going to touch on it. Weight loss medications, I mean. It's actually incorrect to call them weight loss medications, by the way. They're not weight loss medications. Like, you don't inject yourself with this thing and it makes your weight come down. It's a byproduct. It's an indirect effect. If you take something that makes you less hungry, you're going to eat less. Then you're going to lose weight. They're not a weight loss med. But anyway, but it translates into everything else, right? So I'll start with the medication explanation. So I put out a post last night. I wrote a little document, put out a post about it, and lots of people are grabbing it to read it. And it's basically this concept that, so you know, I keep repeating these stats, 90% of people, blah, blah, blah. 90% of people taking weight loss medications put all the weight back on again within 12 months, right? That's what we know so far. But then I did a bit more digging because I obviously knew that that didn't mean that 10% of people kept the weight off. It just meant that 90% of them put it all back on. So I did more digging. It's a bit hard to pin down, but by my estimations, based on everything I read, 3 to 5% of people taking weight loss medications are actually keeping the weight off. The other 7 to 5% and within the 10%, it's not that they keep it off, it's that they don't put it all back on. So they do still regain. Maybe they're regaining half, maybe they're regaining 3/4, maybe they regain it all, but it takes them 2 years instead of 1 year. Like it's not that specific. Oh, I just found a golf ball. So 3 to 5% of people are actually keeping the weight off. That's 3, 4, or 5 people out of every 100. Can you imagine the thousands and thousands of pounds, hundreds of thousands of pounds, potentially, being spent by 100 people, only for 3, 4, or 5 of them to actually have any success? So why are some people having success? Now, I don't know them. I haven't spoken to these people, so I don't know. But I've made a few assumptions. So this thing that I wrote last night, and this is this kind of brainwave that I've had, is that the vast majority of people taking these medications are making the medication the main character. And this is transferable across all diets, right? And this is, what I mean by that is, you want to lose weight. You've heard about this medication and you say, I'm going to take that medication and it is going to make me lose weight. You do nothing else. You don't do anything. You don't try to eat better. You don't try to eat more fruits and vegetables. You don't try to increase the protein in your diet. You don't try to eat less chocolate, drink less alcohol, snack less often, eat more meals. You don't do any of the basic boring stuff, but the boring stuff that works to lose weight. Instead, you stab yourself with a pen and you just go about your day. Only you're going about your day as a person who is far less hungry, who isn't experiencing as many cravings, who has far less food noise, and that's it. You are making this weight loss medication the main character in your weight loss journey. You're doing nothing, essentially. You're not doing anything else to help yourself. You're not exercising, you're not walking more, you're not reducing your screen time, you're not going to bed earlier to get a decent sleep, you're not hydrating, like you're not doing any of the, like all the stuff that I would encourage in people depending on what their own unique set of circumstances are to help them improve. This is why so many people are failing, we'll call it failing. This is why so many people are failing. Remember, weight loss, successful weight loss is not just losing weight, it's actually keeping it off. If you lose weight and put it right back on again, that's technically a failure. It's circumstantial though, but technically that's a failure. That's yo-yo dieting. This is why an outrageous amount of people are coming into the Monroe method now with injections at the end of their diet history. So this all came off the back of someone asking me a question yesterday, and I gave her a ridiculously in-depth reply on Instagram. She commented on a post and says, do you think it's possible to lose weight and keep... No, what was the question? Do you think it's possible to lose weight and keep it off with these pens? I think she said. I was like, of course it is, but you have to do it properly. And then this is where this train of thought came from, where how would you do it properly? So you need to think of weight loss medications as an assistant, right? I started thinking about the people inside the Monroe method who are taking these medications. They are enlightened people. Like, they're not daft. They don't think this pen's going to solve all their problems. They are well aware that they are still someone who emotionally eats, who still stress eats, who still does this, who still does that. They're just not doing it at the moment because they know that they're taking something that's helping them not do it. And they're well aware that they cannot stay on these medications forever. They know the price is going to hike up if you're on Mounjaro in September. It's going to start costing thousands of pounds. They do not want to be paying, even at the moment, they don't want to be paying hundreds of pounds every month for a medication. Like, they don't want to be paying, it's a very expensive trade-off. It's fine if I suppose if you're very well off and you've got money to piss away, then I suppose it's no thing to be spending 300 or 400 quid a month to keep your weight where it is. And that's fine for you. But I suppose for my demographic, the majority of people I'm working with, they can't afford to do that. So, yeah, here's a kind of step-by-step of how someone might successfully lose weight, right? So let's say, first of all, you have to find a process that is going to help you fix the problems that you actually have. So all the reasons that you have weight to lose in the first place. You have weight to lose, and people just stop at the food, they stop at the alcohol. It doesn't stop there. You have weight to lose because you do, and remember that, this all comes back to your day starting the night before. You have weight to lose because you do absolutely no planning the evening before. Your day starts when your alarm goes off in the morning and you've no clothes ironed, no food prepped, no whatever, the school uniforms aren't ready, the kids are having to get dragged out of bed, they're not ready. You're starting every day stressed, in a rush, on the back foot, and then the rest of that day does not go particularly well. Sorry about all the traffic. I'll get across the road now. Cross. Come. There we go. So your day's already getting off to a negative start. That sets the tone for the rest of the day, because if you start every day stressed and harassed, the rest of the day is pretty much going to go the same. And because you didn't prep any food, you're stopping at Costa on the way to work, you're grabbing a coffee and a pastry and a cake. No fibre, no protein, no filling power. Whoa. Very imbalanced, big blood sugar spike followed by a crash mid-morning, leaving you with cravings, looking for something else. You didn't bring lunch, so again, it's like, what's everybody doing for lunch? Where are we ordering from? Etc. And then you come home, can't be bothered cooking, phone a takeaway. I've had a tough day. I've had a hard day. I've had a great day. I deserve this. I've had a bad day. I can't be bothered. Chinese, pizza, Indian. And then, the kids are in bed. I'm going to start eating. I'm sitting in front of the TV. I'm going to start eating. Just a few examples of, you'll relate to some of those. Or I fancy a glass of wine. Now I've had a glass of wine. Now I want crisps. And I'm not just going to get a small packet, and I'm going to get the family sharing size bag of Sensations out. And I'm not just going to put some in a bowl and take it to the couch. I'm going to take the whole bag to the couch. And I'm going to eat that entire bag while I get through this entire bottle of wine. And I'm going to stay up late. And I'm going to go to bed, but I'm not going to sleep because I'm drunk. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow feeling like absolute shit. And I'm going to start the process all over again. That's an example of how a person might be overweight. A weight loss injection is not going to fix that. It's not going to change any of that. These injections, they do not turn you into a different person inside. I wrote this somewhere yesterday, right? At my highest weight ever, I was 15, just under 15 stone. If I could go back in time to 2015, pull my brain out of my body and put it in my head right now, that 15 stone brain, with its 15 stone habits and behaviours and mindset and approach, would start taking this body up to 15 stone. If I took my, whatever I am now, 11 and whatever, 12 maybe, just under 12 stone brain, and put it in my old 15 stone body, that brain would start taking that body down to 12 stone. Your brain is the problem. I always like to think of a brain as like a computer. When you're born, you're just a blank computer. A computer doesn't do anything until it has an operating system. So you install a copy of Windows in it. Now you can use the computer. It's a bit what your brain's like. Your brain is running software, only it's software that you have been updating for decades. Every time you learn something new, every time you develop a new habit, every time somebody makes a horrible comment, or you hear a parent talking about good and bad foods and healthy and unhealthy. Each of these little updates your brain until you get to a point where you're running this software that isn't particularly helpful. Taking weight loss medications doesn't change what's going on inside your head. There is a bit of a caveat to this, because for many people, yes, your weight makes you miserable. And if you could become a lighter weight, it's not going to make you happy, it's going to make you less miserable. Because you didn't weigh what you weigh now once. So I don't know how to explain this. Your weight's making you miserable now, but there was a time when it didn't make you miserable. So your weight still somehow got to where it was. We get very, very lost in this idea that weight loss is going to bring happiness and it's going to solve a lot of things. Like, it is going to solve, it's going to solve things that are weight related. Yes, you might have more confidence. Yes, you might want to wear nicer clothes or be more outgoing or whatever the case might be, but there was once a time when you didn't weigh what you weighed now, and you still weren't happy. Not fully happy. Your weight just added to it. So this idea that weight loss is just going to solve everything is a fallacy. Things will get better. So this is where the caveat is, where, if I could wave a magic wand and take 2, 3, 4 stone off you right now, that would feel great for a little while, but it would soon become the norm. And then you would soon fall back into all the unhelpful habits that you had and start to put weight back on again. So I said this ages ago about weight loss medications, that it's just the next big yo-yo diet. It's a pandemic. All these people are taking it. Hello, very cute cow. All these people are taking it. The weight's falling off. They feel amazing. They think they've cracked it. They feel like it's a miracle. And now we're getting to the point where they've been around long enough for people to come out the other side and put all the weight back on and realise it wasn't all they thought it was. So, back to the point. How do you use medications to successfully lose weight? You have to find a process that is going to help you fix the reasons that you have weight to lose in the first place. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be me, but since I am me, and that's what the Monroe method does, like you would, and I'm not, if you're not listening, this isn't an advertisement, I'm just trying to get a point across, right? My advice would be, you sign up to something like the Monroe method. It doesn't have to be me, but you sign up to something that is specifically designed to help you understand why you have weight to lose. And then a lot of people go, oh no, I've got weight to lose, I eat too much. Yeah, but you don't know why you eat too much. If you understood why you do it, you'd be able to work on it and fix it. We need to understand what all your food attachments are. All the opportunities in a day where you eat in a way that puts excess in your body that leads to you gaining weight. A lot of people don't want to identify those things. This is the thing, like medications help you bypass all that stuff. And it's not necessary, it's not always about hard work. a lot of the time it can just be about discomfort. People don't want to admit that they eat in secret, like otherwise they wouldn't be doing it in secret, obviously. It makes them uncomfortable. People get uncomfortable facing up to themselves. They get uncomfortable admitting, okay, the reason, I had this very long drawn out chat with a client once. And honestly, it took ages. And we got there in the end. She eventually admitted it, but we went back and forth for about a week. Every day, new message from her, back, forth. And I was talking about her diet and asking her questions. And I was like, your fat in your diet is very high. Yeah, but it's all healthy fats. I'm like, well, you're eating too many healthy fats then. You're eating 1,000 calories a day in fat. Yeah, but it's mostly avocado, salmon and eggs. And then, so I multiplied it by the week, right? It was like 130 grams of fat in a day. I multiplied it by 7 and I presented it back to her and said, okay, are you eating 100 avocados, 40 salmon fillets and 120 eggs each week? Okay, no, probably not. Okay. So, yes, there are healthy fats in your diet and that's great. Healthy fats are important, especially as a woman. They're crucial for female hormonal health. But you're not eating 130 grams of fat every day, which is 1,100 calories in fat, just from an avocado, a salmon fillet, and a couple of eggs. And we eventually got to the point and she said, okay, well, it's the treats then. And she finally admitted it. It's the chocolate, it's the biscuits, it's the crisps. And it's not about trying to get someone to admit something to me, it's getting them to admit it to themselves. Like, I don't care. I mean, I care. Sorry, that's the wrong thing to say. What I mean is, I don't judge people based on what they're eating. Like, my job's to help them. In the process of helping, it's not, I don't need to know what they're eating. I'm not trying to force them to say the word chocolate. What I'm trying to get that person to do is lead them along a path that gets them to admit to themselves something they're doing that's a problem. Like she spent a week trying to convince me something she had already convinced herself of. My fat's okay because it's mostly coming from avocado, salmon and eggs. Like she just convinced herself. Maybe 30 grams of it was coming from that, but the other 100 odd grams or 90 grams, whatever it was snacks, chocolate, biscuits, crisps, cakes. Once she admitted it to herself, then she could start making changes to it. Otherwise, she would, had she not worked with me, she would have just carried on convincing herself that, the fats are fine. Avocado, blah, blah, blah. So, you need to follow a process that is going to hold a mirror up to you and make you look at these things and say, look. And again, as ever, I am not against medication. Not in the slightest. I'm against it being misused. Which it is by 90%, 90+% of people taking it because they're making it the main character. You cannot let these medications be the only driving force behind your weight. So here's a process of how you might best use it, right? Let's say you sign up to work with me and we work through your first 30 days. Ideally without medication. If you're already on it, it wouldn't matter. But if you were thinking about taking it, here's the structure I would follow. I would work with me for 30 days. I would find out how I felt about the process. If it felt like it was for me, then I would sign up to continue for another 3 or 6 months. Because it's cheaper. Because if you do it in a 6-month block, it's less. Then I would maybe go through another month just to make sure that I was on the right track, I fully understood what my issues were, I knew the things that I was working on, and I knew the things that had to change. Because what's going to happen next is, you're going to go and you order your medication, you're going to take your first dose, and you're going to start using it, and a lot of things are going to change artificially inside. If they haven't changed already, listen, I worked with someone recently who did this, like literally did what I'm describing, now that I realise it. She came to work with me, she worked through her first month and a bit, losing weight beautifully, textbook progress, everything's going brilliant, she's doing an amazing job, and then she said, I'm thinking about injections. Which is fine, But I just, I gave her all the facts and says, look, what would it add? Like, what do you think it's going to add? Because you're doing great as you are. You don't need injections. This process is working brilliantly. And she didn't have a lot of weight to lose. So in that instance, like, it wasn't appropriate. And she came to that conclusion by herself after I'd spoken to her, which was good. But if she had something like 4 or 5 or 6 stones to lose, and everything was looking as good as it is, I would have said, you know what, go for it. But we do it on the basis that you have to view this method as the main character, because this method is the thing that's going to set you up for life. An injection will not set you up for life. You need to think of weight loss medications as an assistant. So if someone's working with me, we set things up, they're losing a pound and a quarter a week, they're working on all the right things, they're checking in with me, which is a process that helps them reflect and think about how they're improving and all these little niggly things that took their weight to a place they didn't want it to be. And we get to week 6 or 8 or 10 or 12 and they say, I want to try weight loss injections. And if I look back over their check-ins and go, do you know what, you're actually an ideal candidate for it because you're doing an amazing job. You've already done the important work. If you were to start taking medications, then you're going to start losing a couple of pound a week. Because there's this thing that I often say to people, I work with people for maybe 2 or 3 months and they, or maybe longer, and they get to a point where there's like a trigger point where I'll say to them, look, you have already become the goal version of yourself in your head, like you've done it. All we're doing now is running down the clock. We're just waiting for the passage of time. We're waiting, because if you think about it, that's the only thing that slows your weight loss is how little you can eat. It's a bit like hairdressers or barbers, like the thing that limits how much money they can make is the amount of hours they put in because they get paid for their time. It's a bit like that where it's kind of limited and restricted. The only way they can make more money is either to work more hours or increase their prices. So when it comes to fat loss, the only way that you can lose weight faster is if you can increase the size of your calorie deficit, but that means you're going to be hungrier. And this is where we always have that trade-off where, yes, I would love to help people lose 2 pounds a week, but most people aren't capable of that because they don't have the calorie capacity. Most of the women I work with are burning 1,800 to 2,000 calories a day. To lose a pound a week, to lose 2 pounds a week, you need to figure out how you can eat 1,000 calories less than that every day, like no days off, without fail. If losing 2 pounds is the goal, you need to eat 1,000 calories less than you need every day for a week. And if you want to lose 2 pounds the next week, you need to do it again. No breaks, no nights out, probably no takeaways, probably no alcohol. And that's when you get to that point where it's like, actually, I'm having to give up too much of my life for a number on a scale. And this is why, for most people, anything from half a pound to a pound and a bit is more realistic because it still allows you to have a life and do those things. But with the introduction of a weight loss medication, it might then become much easier to eat much less. Or it does then become easier to eat much less, and it will speed up the process. And then the medication's doing the right thing. It has now become it's assisting the progress you're already making. So you've done all the right things, you've got the foundations in place, you're balancing your diet well, your mindset's in the right place, you're working on the right stuff so that you can come out the other side of your weight loss journey, not just at the weight you want to be, but fully equipped to live there. Once you get to that point, and you know you've still got 20, 30, 40 pounds to lose, you can say, do you know what? I'm in a good place just now. Let's give medication a go. Let's see if I can cut off a chunk of time between point A to point B. Instead of this weight loss, now that I've got my head in the right place, instead of running down the clock for 6 months waiting to lose this weight, let's cut it down to 3 months. Does that make sense? So, yeah, these medications, injections, whatever you want to call them, they can... Somebody says, no, the lady actually says, do they work? That was her wording that she used when she asked the question. And I said, they always work. Their job is to help you reduce your appetite, curb your cravings, lower food noise. They do that very well. What she meant was, do you think they can work in terms of, can you lose weight then keep it off? That's the process. So don't do it backwards. If you think about it, like how this is the same. If you think about how, so I went through a lot of feedback that I get from people in week 1 of the course, and I analysed it all. And some of the best feedback, or the most common feedback, was how much people appreciated the approach. I'm used to dieting on day 1. I'm used to starting on a Monday and stepping on the scales. I'm used to getting a plan on the first day and following it and losing weight from day 1. That's how every yo-yo diet starts. You just jump into something without any thought. Oh, I'm just going to start Slimming World. I'm just going to go to Weight Watchers. And, after your first Weight Watchers meeting, that's it. Next day, you're losing weight. Slimming World, next day, losing weight. Weight loss injections. Take it, stab it, next day you start losing weight. It's the same failed, broken approach that people have been using for their weight for years. They just decide on a whim, I'm going to lose weight. They do the research, and that's it. Diet starts tomorrow. Fuck the diet starting tomorrow. What about taking the time to figure out why you need to go on a diet in the first place? Where does that work come into it? That's why I set up things the way I did inside the Monroe Method. We don't dive into losing weight tomorrow. We dive into learning and understanding yourself. That's what the entire first 6 days is about. Once we actually, you have to know who you are and where you are coming from if you ever want to make lasting change. Then on day 7, we set things up. Then on day 8, you get into the losing weight part, but you're now approaching it in a way you've never approached it before. But these medications, people just, it's a fuck it moment. You keep seeing the adverts. You keep seeing other people. Maybe you're already dieting, you're on Slimming. I can picture the scenes, hundreds and thousands of scenes across the UK. People going to Slimming World medications, jeez. People going to Slimming World meetings, making deals with themselves. If it's a gain today, I'm ordering that fucking medication tonight. +2 gain. Right, that's it. Cancel my membership. I'm going on Ozempic. I'm going on Mounjaro. I'm getting Wegovy. I can picture it. Late night, you sat on the couch watching TV, eating crisps, eating sweets, eating chocolate, feeling annoyed and shameful or disgusted with yourself, and an ad pops up and you go, fuck it, I'm buying it. I need to stop this. This has to stop. This can't go on. There's no preparation behind it. There's no thought behind it. There's no exit strategy. People, this is something that I have to teach clients all the time. Stop. I wrote something last week on Instagram. Make decisions that feel good tomorrow, not just today. People don't think things through to the end. What happens every time you're drunk? You get a hangover. People don't say, I can't wait to be hungover on Sunday. They say, I can't wait to have a drink on Saturday night. They stop at that part. They don't think things all the way through to the end. Which is like, inside the Monroe Method, the process is thought all the way through to the end. Here's what we're going to do at the start. Here's what we're going to do in the middle. Here's what we're going to do once you reach the weight that you want to be. We're going to come up to maintenance, and we're going to spend 6 weeks gradually increasing your calories so you can get to grips with eating more food again. What it feels like, in case you don't know. So we've got a few people just now who are getting close to maintenance, and they're ready. Close to maintenance, I mean they're close to their goal weights. We'll save that for another day. Let's not branch out too much in this one. About goal weights and maintenance and stuff. But there's a few people who said, I'm getting close to where I want to be. And I've said, look, when you come up to maintenance, you're going to put weight back on again because you're going to add food weight to your body. You're going to add more calories to your body. That's going to add more water weight to your body. And then your weight's going to go up by 4 or 5 pounds. 3, 4, 5 pounds. You're not going to like that. You wanted to see 10 stone 7, but you're going to end up looking at 10 stone... What did I say? Did I say 7? You want to be 10 stone 7, but by the time you come up to maintenance, you're going to be 10 stone 12. And you're going to think you have weight to lose again. Let's just keep going in the deficit for now, then we'll come up to maintenance. coming up to maintenance, it's roughly a 6-week process. Increase your calories by 200. Spend 2 weeks there. Next check-in. If everything looks good, increase your calories by another 200. Spend 2 weeks here. If everything looks good then, okay, now we're getting very close to what your maintenance calories are going to be. So let's come up again, see how it looks, fine-tune, and then we'll start looking at graduating away from tracking. Because by that point, and again, this is where it translates, right? If you're using tracking to lose weight, it has to be an assistant. And this is the way that I've always described it inside the Monroe Method. You are not using an app to tell you how to eat. You are using an app to track how you are choosing to eat. All you're doing is using the app to document things. You're not using it to dictate your diet. You're using it to say, okay, here's what I've eaten today. Then you can look and see how it's balanced and go, oh, that was pretty good. My protein was great. My fibre was great. So yeah. Doesn't matter how you're losing weight, what plan you're following, what process you're doing, if you're injecting yourself or not. You have to be doing it the right way. Otherwise, you're especially with medications, you've got a 3 to 5 in 100 chance of actually keeping the weight off. And here's the thing as well. We don't have the data for it yet, but if I was to make an educated guess about those results, the 3 to 5% of people are probably people who didn't have a lot of weight to lose. I don't think it's likely at all. I don't think anyone who has a lot of weight to lose is staying at their goal. They're not fitting into that. You can't be someone who has the habits, the behaviour, the mindset of someone that can achieve a body of 18 stone, and you take medications to get to 12 stone, and when you come off them, it just magically sticks. I can't see that happening ever. I think the people who are losing it, this is where Weight Watchers have got the right idea, by the way. As we know, Weight Watchers went bankrupt, but they're still operating, but they're completely changing their approach. And they are now going to be a weight loss medication assisted program, which I think is the right way to do it. I've no idea what the program looks like or what's involved. I don't know if it still involves points and all that stuff. But the fact that they're setting up a program so that they can become an assistant to the medication, that makes sense to me. Although if it is still points and disordered language, then it's still going to be a yo-yo diet. It's just going to be a very fast one. But yeah, I don't think people who have a lot of weight to lose are within that 3 to 5%. I would say 0%. The people who are successful probably only had 10, 15 pounds to lose. They don't have many habits to change. Maybe the weight's sticking because it could be that maybe someone's got very close to a goal and it's the last kind of stubborn half stone or 10 pounds or a stone, and they can't quite get there, and the medication helps them get there and they feel on top of the world, and that filters into their habits. And because they didn't have many things to change, they didn't have to do much. The higher your weight is, the more things you have to work on, the more things you have to change, the more things you have to improve. And like I said, if you're 18 stone, you have an 18 stone brain, and you're taking medication to help you achieve a 12 stone body, and you stop taking the medication, you're now in a situation where you have an 18 stone brain and a 12 stone body. So what's going to happen there? This is why people immediately gain weight. And this is why I said that maybe the weight loss part makes them a little bit happier. So this is why we'll probably have people who were 18 stone going down to 12 stone, and maybe they only go back to 15 stone. Because how much better they feel is making them not eat as much. Maybe they're not doing as much of the emotional eating that they were doing. Maybe because they're a bit happier, they're not leaning on food as much as they were. So they didn't solve everything, but they're not going all the way back to 18 stone. Which is still a positive thing. if you still come out with a net 3 stone loss, you've still added years on to the end of your life again. You've still drastically improved your quality of life. It's not where you want to be, but it's helped you take a big chunk off your weight loss journey, and then you can go and look for something to do it the right way. So it's not the be all and end all. It's not a should I, shouldn't I. Like, it's not, it's not black and white. Take them or don't take them. You shouldn't or you should take them. It's, if you're going to do it, please do it properly. Please don't waste your money. That pisses me off the most. That's the thing that really gets my back up. People spending hundreds and thousands of pounds, not just on injections, on dieting in general, only to end up either in the exact same place they were when they started, or in most cases, worse off. I've had so many conversations this week with people who say things like, my mum took me to Weight Watchers when I was in my 20s, and looking back now, I didn't even need to go to Weight Watchers. I wasn't even overweight. Fast forward 20 years, they're 4 stone heavier. And people don't realise this, right? In a lot of the cases, if you're someone who frequently goes to Slimming World, frequently goes to Weight Watchers, like you're someone that goes annually, imagine what life would be like if you didn't go. Imagine what life would be like if you didn't think in points and sins and free foods and healthy extras. People don't realise it, but these companies are dieting them up to a higher weight. But they're great at convincing you that Slimming World's not the problem. It's such a paradoxical thing where they create the illusion of success, because in your mind you say, but every time I go, I lose weight. Okay. And then every time you stop, you put on even more weight. Oh, but that's my fault. It's like, no, it's not. If you hadn't gone to Slimming World at all, would you have then put on the weight afterwards? If you go to Slimming World and lose 2 stone, then you stop going and put on 3, would you have put that extra stone on in the first place? We can't say for sure, but it's highly likely that you wouldn't. People don't realise that they're dieting themselves to higher weights. Yo-yo dieting is the problem. It's not the solution. You can't fix a problem with the problem. That's what people try to do. You keep dieting, your weight keeps going up. You try to use dieting to fix it, and your weight keeps going up. And sadly, medications are now the next huge yo-yo diet. Anyway, somebody's coming with a dog, so I better grab these 2. That's enough from me. So until next time.